I sort of walking down the stairs at Rick's, and I look at the bottom of the steps, and I see Jim Harbaugh sitting in the corner, and I see a big, huge offensive lineman, Mike Hussar, sitting next to him. So I'm like, I'm going to sit down and talk to Jim and Mike. So I sat down and I said, "Hey guys, how you doing?" They're like, "Oh, good, good." And I'm like, "We're excited, about having a big year, And so I lean over and I was about to ask Jim a question, and some tall, blonde, blue-eyed blonde, really pretty girl comes walking down the stairs and she says, "Jimmy Harbaugh."
This is the Living Numbers Podcast, and I am your host, Tony Rambles. This is the place where everyone's interesting if you ask the right questions. Of course, before we start the show, I have my 4 appeals, 20 seconds, set your timers, go. Number 1, rate, review, 5 stars everywhere you listen to podcasts. Number 2, follow me on IG and TikTok, even got a Facebook page out there, at the Living Numbers Podcast. Number 3, subscribe on Apple and Spotify for the behind the scenes content. We got some memorabilia shown earlier here. And number 4, you can support the vision by purchasing merch and the other services I offer on the Linktree link in the description. I think that's 20 seconds. I might be close though. Now, when we have somebody on for the first time, of course, we have to give them an elaborate introduction. So, our guest here is going to tell me if anything is wrong once I finish. Hailing from Flint, Michigan, our guest earned his bachelor's degree in industrial and operations engineering and his MBA in management from the University of Michigan. Go Blue, near and dear to my heart. Our guest is a registered business broker and founder of Edison Business Advisors. Okay, when I started looking up his background, I was just bombarded by all of the accomplishments and awards that he has. He holds multiple certifications from the International Business Brokers Association, which we will get to later. Over the past 25 years or so, give or take, he's transacted close to $300 million in buying and selling businesses and has amassed over 20 awards, which if you're watching, you can see in the background behind him. Wow. From being the best business broker in Florida for the greater part of the last 15 years. He's been described as fantastic, intelligent, and the consummate professional. Wolf Dog, Pickle Man, Michigan Man. I present the Eric Gall. Say hello to the people.
Well, hello and thanks, Tony. Boy, I got to hire you to do all my introductions now. That was awesome.
You start digging around, you see some very, very interesting stuff. So I saw you play baseball in a couple of adult leagues, and I actually just joined the softball league myself about a week ago. I was so awful in right field. No, I was in left field. And so I'm fast, but I don't know what I'm doing out there, but it was fun. So we're going to start here with our first number. And that number, you probably know exactly where we're going with this. 1985. So this is the time where you were at the University of Michigan. And for just background, I never went to Michigan. I've never even been on campus. But we grew up watching Michigan football, basketball, and I've always been a big fan, as you can see, stuff in the background. So just tell us about your experience. And I chose 85 because that was a year that they finished second in the country as far as in the AP polls. So how was it like being on campus when Michigan was really good?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I grew up kind of a shy kid, didn't talk a whole lot, took more after my dad as a youngster, who was, you got visual cues from. But, if he was mad, if he was happy, you saw it in his face. So I didn't say a whole lot. So, the whole college experience for me was more about social development than academics. I mean, and learning how to work and work hard. So a couple things, with respect to that is, the whole social experience, just opened you up, all those kids, the mass piling of new kids and new faces and, the fresh start, and nobody knows who you are. So you have to get used to introducing yourself to people. So, I mean, that was a lot of fun, and you learn how to, talk and start a conversation and continue conversations, and then the other experience about it, was really, the first day I showed up in engineering school, I sat down and they introduced us and they said, "Congratulations and welcome to the best engineering class we've ever had at the University of Michigan Engineering School.
Ooh.
1 out of 4 of you graduated with a 4.0." And that was before AP credits, right? So that meant if you were a 4.0, you were a 4.0. You didn't get anything less than an A in high school. So I'm looking at the person in front of me. I'm looking at the person behind me. I'm looking at both sides of me going, "One of you jokers graduated with a 4.0, and I didn't." So I knew if I was going to graduate, with an engineering degree, I was going to have to work hard. And, that kind of set the tone right there that, it wasn't going to be, an easy 4 years academically. So, learning how to buckle down, and study when you needed to study, learning how to go out and, develop socially and have fun. And then, of course, the season football tickets, the season basketball tickets, going to hockey games, baseball games, it's all part of the experience. And it was awesome.
Did you play any kind of like intramural sports or anything up there? Because I know that's a big part of the social part. Sometimes a lot of people, they just go, "Well, I know I can play sports, so that'll kind of get me into my element." So where the social part is not as difficult. Did you play any ball up there?
Oh, I played everything I could from, football, soccer, softball, basketball, and, anything I could sign up for, I signed up for and played. Social development, right? Meeting kids, meeting people, that share the same interests, academically, athletically, as you, is always fun.
So with my background as a teacher and kind of seeing where the world is not headed, but the is. Do you think you would have been one of those students that would have preferred to do school online? Because I'm sure that wasn't even an option for you back in, in the 80s. Do you think it would have been different if you went to school now, say, as opposed to, when you did?
Well, to be honest, I am so glad I got the experience, I got, because, like I said, growing up kind of shy, not, really an extrovert at the time, boy, I've changed. But anyway, being kind of the shy, quiet kid, I think it helped immensely just to be, thrown into that environment where, you had to, communicate and communicate often with others.
What was the hardest part about college?
Time management, just, developing that discipline to, do your studies and, make sure that work was done, before you went on and had fun. Because there's a lot of opportunity for fun in college, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. So you had a jersey hanging up there. So did you ever meet Jim Harbaugh? Like, did you know any of those guys personally? I know I'm stuck on the Michigan stuff, but just asking.
Oh boy, do I have a story. Yeah, I did meet Jim Harbaugh. I
Okay.
met Jim Harbaugh. I was actually right after my right after my senior year of college. And I was sitting in Rick's American Cafe after work. I was working in Southfield, but I was still living in Ann Arbor. And I was meeting a nursing student friend of mine who I was dating at the time. And I sort of walking down the stairs at Rick's, and I look at the bottom of the steps, and I see Jim Harbaugh sitting in the corner. And I see a big, huge offensive lineman, Mike Husar, sitting next to him. and then there was an empty seat. So I'm like, I'm going to sit down and talk to Jim and Mike. So I sat down and I said, "Hey guys, how you doing?" They're like, "Oh, good, good." And I'm like, "Hey, you ready?" Because they were both redshirt seniors, so they were going to be seniors. They had graduated, but both would be seniors in the fall. And yeah, we're working hard, getting ready. We're excited, about having a big year. And like you said, this was right after they finished second in the country. And so I lean over and I was about to ask Jim a question, and some, tall, blonde, blue-eyed blonde, really pretty girl comes walking down the stairs and she says, "Jimmy Harbaugh." Of course, his attention goes right to her. So she walks down, they start talking, and I'm talking to, the big ugly up front, Mike Husar. So we're chatting a little bit, and then, then Jim gets up, they hug, she walks into the bar. I'm like, oh, finally, I'm going to get to talk to Jim. So I lean over to talk to Jim. And all of a sudden I hear again, "Jimmy Harbaugh." Another girl walking down the steps. So I'm like, okay, I'll talk to Mike for a little bit longer. So I'm talking to Mike, and they're talking, and then he gets up, he hugs her. I'm like, oh, finally, I'm going to get to talk to him. He sits down, turns around, grabs his beer, chugs it, says, "Okay, Mike, let's go." I'm like, okay. So they get up, he chugs his beer, they get up, they walk up the steps. About a minute later, my girlfriend comes down the steps, and she sits down in the chair next to me. And I go, "You'll never guess who is sitting right next to, in the empty seat where you are right now." She goes, "Who?" I go, "Jimmy Harbaugh." And she goes, "Jimmy Harbaugh?" I go, "Thank God he
left." Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. It's always cool to see like those people on campus because, I mean, at that point, well, clearly he's a big deal, but at the same time, he's just a college student like everybody else. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine what it
Just
would
a
be like
kid like
now.
me.
So
Yeah.
that's senior year, and then you end up, starting to go into the workforce. So are you getting engineering jobs like right away? Because I know you're still doing your master's program as well.
Well, I actually I worked for a year before I went back for my master's, and I worked for an engineering consulting firm in Southfield, and I enjoyed it. However, I decided that I wanted to move from engineering more into the business side. So I applied for MBA programs, and about a week before school started, I actually had my deferral letter to the University of Michigan, and I brought it into work and I set it in the mailbox. So I was going to start, the engineer or the MBA program in '88 instead of '87. And that morning, someone in our office stood up on a desk with a bullhorn and said, "Hey, attention, attention, everybody, come here. I've got an announcement to make." What the heck's going on? This doesn't happen. So everybody moved into that room, and he said, "I just want to let you know that I am starting my own firm, and I am taking that person, that person, that person, that person."
Ooh.
And I kind of went, "That's a lot of the revenue generation around here." So I walked back to the mailroom, grabbed my letter, put it in my pocket, and started school a week later.
Wow. That's, dang, I couldn't imagine that happening where, the boss stands up and like, "All right, half of y'all are coming with me. We're out of here." Like, wait, what? Was there any, what were the conversations after that happened? Like, what was people saying? What was the scuttlebutt?
I think the scuttlebutt was like, what the heck's going to happen with this company? Are they going to, stay in business, or, has, a good chunk of the talent left, and, are they just going to steal the clients? And, and that's exactly what happened. I guess the story I heard, because I was a little bit disconnected because I was back in school. The story I heard is that person who left came back in 6 months later and bought all the furniture from the execs of the company.
Oh, wow. They were doing all right.
So,
I don't know if you watched The Office, but that reminds me of when, there you go. So when Michael started the Michael Scott Paper Company, And he's like, I'm out of here. Who's coming with me? And nobody stands up. And Pam, of course, she leaves and goes with him. And he goes and gets Ryan. And they're just like, they get the ball rolling. So anybody who's watched The Office, you all know what happens after that. And they buy him back into the company or whatever. But that's the first thing I thought of because I'm a huge Office fan. That's a big jump from going to getting this degree in engineering and now making a decision that I don't want to be an engineer. What was that conversation like for yourself, like in your own head? And then who else did you talk to, if anyone?
Well, when I was in the summer after my junior year, I worked at General Motors in Flint in the powertrain division, and I met, several MBA students, and one of them who's still a friend today, Mark Johnson. He was at Wharton. He went to Wharton for his business degree, and chatted with him about the things that he was doing versus what I was doing. Talked about the value of an MBA, postgraduate, and after that experience and discussing it with him and a couple other MBAs that were at GM Powertrain as well, it just made sense for me to do because combining that business acumen with the engineering acumen just kind of gives you a step up in the world of understanding kind of both the technical side of business and the business side.
So from there, you said you were working for who?
Well, I worked in the summer for General Motors in Flint in their powertrain
There we go.
division. Yeah.
And so I saw a couple of other heavy hitters. Schlumberger I saw on your profile, as well as you worked for Ford for a number of years. So when you were with those companies, how did those two worlds merge for you then, with the engineering as well as the business side for you?
Well, I mean, to kind of explain it, I worked the summer between my first and second year of grad school. I worked for Ford Motor Company as a summer intern, and I really enjoyed it. But I had a lot of my experience was automotive or automotive related at that time, and I thought I'd try something different. So I went to work at Schlumberger in their CAD CAM division for 1 year as a software product manager. Interesting, but not. I liked automotive better. I'll just leave it at that. I left there after 1 year, and I went to work at Ford. Went back to Ford, and spent 17 years there, and kind of moved up the ladder and had a lot of global responsibilities, and was able to travel the world and see a lot of things and do a lot of things, accomplish a lot. So it was a really good 17 years. But then the climbing the corporate ladder, having other people control your own destiny, at times just gets a little bit frustrating and tiresome. So it's like, you need to try something else, right? So that's what I did.
So that's going to lead us actually into our next number. So you have 4 different brokerage certifications. There's a lot of letters there, a lot of uppercase letters. So what do those different certifications mean, and what do they allow you to do?
Well, I don't know that they necessarily allow you to do anything, but they just show a commitment and dedication to continuing education in your craft. For example, the CBI, this Certified Business Intermediary designation, that's offered by IBBA, or the International Business Brokers Association. It means that you've completed some level of education with them. It means that you've done a specified number of deals at a specified size. It means that you've passed, an exam that qualifies you, and shows that you did learn something while you're sitting there through all those courses. And, what it really does is it just provides a good, strong foundation, for the process that needs to be executed in preparing a business for sale and executing the sale process. And if you look at the other ones, there's like certified merger and acquisition professional. That just takes a look at, selling businesses as well, but it looks at selling, more lower middle market or larger businesses kind of in that $2 million to, 50, 60, $75 million, valuation range, which is a little bit different approach because you have a different set of buyers. You're not dealing with individuals who are replacing a job or high net worth individuals per se. A lot of those cases, you're dealing with private equity groups, family offices, a much more sophisticated level of buyer.
So you're making the decision. What was that last day at Ford like? Because I'm sure all of us, before we have that last day in our minds, we've already made the decision to get out. So what was that last day like leaving Ford? And then what was that first day like going into the brokerage arena? Something totally new for you.
Well, I actually didn't step straight into the brokerage arena. We actually formed a little private equity group and went out and bought, 5 automotive service centers. We bought a logistics company. We bought a last mile delivery company and a logistics software company. And we ran those through the start of the Great Recession. And, as cash flow dwindled in those businesses, our investing team started to go back to corporate America, and I needed something to do. And, talked it over with my wife, and we decided we were going to stay in Florida. So I needed something that I could make money at and something I was confident in, comfortable doing, and thought I could do well, which, having just done all those transactions and was in the process of selling off some of those assets that we purchased, thought that business brokerage, was a perfect fit for me. So it was kind of just stepped right into it and just started doing the process I executed for myself and our investment group. I started executing for other business owners and people who desired to purchase businesses.
So I know now, like a lot of people are getting into, they want to have their own businesses and that kind of thing. So what does it take? Guess what is the beginning stages of putting a deal together to purchase another business? What does that timeline look like?
Well, if you're a buyer, you need to have patience first and foremost, because not every business is going to be a good fit. Not every business is going to be, necessarily presented professionally. It's not going to cash flow for you, or it may not have a skill set, that is aligned with your own. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of due diligence on behalf of a buyer, to make sure that they're making the right decision. Most of these buyers are going to invest a good part of their life savings in this new business, and you don't want to make a mistake. So I always advise, take your time, make sure it's the right business. I don't discourage buyers, but I will ask them a lot of questions just to make sure that they're, sincerely confident that they can, make a good go of the business.
What kinds of businesses have you bought and sold throughout these different processes? Because I'm sure there's tons of stuff that people wouldn't think of, like, oh, that was this business that was bought and sold by someone. What kinds of businesses have you come across?
Well, the businesses that I like to do primarily, are manufacturing, because that's, in my background. So machine shops, metal benders, any type of fabricator. Love those types of businesses. I'm very comfortable in speaking with business owners and, understanding their environment and their businesses, their processes, everything of that nature. So that comes secondhand. What I've been getting more and more involved in is medical and dental, especially dental. But, I've sold all kinds of stuff from, lawn and landscaping businesses to, salons, whether it's a hair salon or, a day spa. I mean, in Florida, it's a big service economy. So, the local deals that I do, are more related to service-related businesses in construction or, salon, spa type work, restaurants, a lot of restaurants. But I do go outside of Florida. I do quite a few deals in the Midwest. This next week I'll be up in Ohio and Michigan, meeting with some business owners, one on a logistics company that I'm talking to about selling, and the other on a machine shop. So, we do travel, especially for the right size business.
How do you determine the value of a business, right? Because we see like stuff like Shark Tank all the time where you go, well, my business is valued at X number or this number. How does someone determine the value of the business that they have or a business that they want to buy or sell?
Well, the wise thing to do is to get a professional involved. And, there are certified business appraisers out there. There's also business brokers, and intermediaries like myself who will value a business. I'm not a certified appraiser. I think it's a little bit of a conflict of interest, to appraise someone's business and tell them what it's worth and then, price it and sell it for them. So I will give an opinion of what it's worth. If someone wants to go and get a certified appraisal, I actually have 3 of them on staff, but I'm not one myself. But what I do is basically what a certified business appraiser does. I will collect the business financials. I will recast them so that they're not from a tax perspective, because your tax preparer is trying to save you money on taxes. I'm not trying to save you money on taxes. I'm trying to show what the true bottom line of that, of that business is producing, right? Because you want that maximized, because the more cash flow, the more value. So we'll take a look at that. We'll compare you against some accounting methods evaluation. We'll compare you against comparable businesses from an industry perspective and a size perspective. And then, calculate, I'm sure people have heard of EBITDA multiples, seller discretionary earning multiples, and revenue multiples. So we'll take a look at that. If you have a business plan in place, that has a forward-looking forecast of, future cash flows, we can take a look at that as well. And then we'll force weight those and come up with what we think a business is worth, and, discuss that with the owner. And, if the owner wants to sell, we put a price on it, usually fluff that number up a little bit for some negotiating room, because you never know. One buyer, may see some synergies there. They may be able to cut some costs some way, and, the business is more valuable to them than, the vast majority of other buyers.
Right. It makes sense. You talked about it already. Fit. What makes the most sense? And a business for this person may make more sense than the business for that person, even though it's a successful business, in air quotes. So you mentioned a couple of times having people on staff, and that's going to bring us to our next number, which is 18. Because on your website, there are 18 testimonials about you and how great of a job that you do. So let's kind of talk about more of the management side, right? What inspired you to open up your own place? Because at some point you became the guy that was like, well, hey guys, I'm leaving and I'm taking this person and that person. maybe not, but you opened up your own place.
Well, I didn't take anybody. There was one person who did follow me, but they didn't last in the business because they weren't focused on the business. They were focused on other things. So, it ended up after that person, left, as a partner, and I had the business all to myself. Then after retrenching, I started growing again and bringing on people that I thought were a good fit to work with me. And it's I have a pretty narrow scope. I'm looking for people to work in this business who have owned businesses, bought and sold businesses themselves, because I think they have the empathy required, to interact with that business owner who has one shot at selling their business, and if you haven't been in their shoes, to me, I think you're missing that empathy with that business.
That makes me think of sports. When you have that great player, and the team isn't great, and now you got to trade them. You get one shot to make a really great trade, and if you mess it up, then you end up like the Wizards. Oh man, what are some of your favorite things about having your own business as opposed to working for somebody else? I know you talked about kind of being in charge of your own destiny, but what are a few other things that kind of help you keep going?
It's, having been in, my client's shoes, having owned businesses, having, sold businesses, bought businesses for myself, just knowing how important it is to them to do the right deal. And, being able to talk to them about, what it is they need out of the transaction, because it's not always about money. For some people it is. And they'll tell you right up front, I want this amount of money. I don't care who buys it. I need this. I get it. I'm gone. Thank you. But there's also the people, who may have the family name on the business. And they want the right buyer to come in that'll respect it and, continue that business, continue that name, because it's important to them. And they feel they owe it to, their grandfather who started the business, to keep that name on the business. For other people, it's the employees. They'll tell you, my employees are family. So, it's very important that whoever you bring in here treats the employees, right. So when we have that discussion up front, I can steer, the discussions that we have between the buyer and seller to kind of help the seller feel out the buyer to make sure the buyer is going to meet those kind of non-monetary objectives that they have.
Again, there's so much happening in sports that these are really easily relatable things. So you have the sale of the Charlotte Hornets right now, where Michael Jordan is there and he's kind of stepping down, but he's still in the role. Do you have stuff like that happen in your scope of what you do as well, where somebody basically sells most of it and it's just a minority owner, but they still want to kind of be involved and run stuff?
Well, the interesting thing is, just at the end of last year, they signed legislation that now allows for fractional sales by business brokers who are not FINRA licensed. It used to be a fractional sale or sale of stock had to be governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And in order for me to offer a stock sale would actually be a violation of their rules. And I could be reprimanded, fined, jailed, etc. for doing so. So I had done some stock transactions, but I had to caveat them like crazy, in the documentation to keep the SEC and FINRA at bay. Now I don't have to do that. And we're going to see a lot more of that now. And I think it's a great thing to have had happen right now. And the reason being is you've got a lot of baby boomers right now, entering the age where they're exiting their businesses. And you've got a lot of folks who don't necessarily have the money or the knowledge and experience to step in and run that business right away.
Right.
So keeping that old owner on for an extended period of time to mentor and train, the new owner, I think is a good thing. And it's good. It's going to help the percentage of successful deals that are done, in the long term.
What makes Edison Brokerage your place? What makes it different from others? Why should somebody choose what you all have to offer as opposed to going somewhere else?
Yeah, well, we've got a tagline, and it's credentials plus experience equals results, right? So if you look at my team, when I was giving you we were talking about the acronyms behind my name, the CBI, the CMAP, the M&A, MI, all but one of my team members has at least one of those. And the other one is relatively new into the brokerage industry, and she's in the process of getting, some of those credentials. And so, there's a dedication to not just learning the craft, but improving the craft, every chance we get. So when it comes to educational opportunities, certifications, we're 100% all in as a team. So we're on top, and we know the latest about everything that's going on in our industry. So I think that sets us apart, because there are tons of brokers out there, who are just sitting back doing their deals. And, the stuff we just talked about on, fractional ownership and buying into a company. I mean, they probably don't even, there's a lot of them probably don't even know that they're allowed to do that. Being able to offer, the latest and greatest solutions to business owners' problems, is important to us. So we take that seriously. Experience, all of my team members, with the exception of one, own businesses, bought and sold businesses on their own. So, like I said, they've been in the shoes of business owners. They have that empathy. And the one person that hasn't did merger and acquisition work at General Electric. So he's well versed in the process, and and as far as respect and empathy for small business owners, he's phenomenal. I mean, so he's a guy that I think stepped up and above that. So there's always exceptions, but for the most part, we look for that level of experience. And then you say, look, results. And you talked about the awards on the wall back there. I think that speaks
There's
for
a
itself.
ton of them.
There is, yeah. It either says I'm really good, or I've been in the business a long time, or both, right? A little bit of both.
True. So you basically have a super team.
We're working on it. I've got some superstars on my team, and definitely we've got some young talent that we're bringing up the ranks too. That I'm hopeful will be superstars, soon as well.
So we mentioned the awards that are behind you. We've mentioned them earlier in the show as well. Anybody who is not watching, there's got to be like 30 to 40 awards behind them. Plaques, all different sizes, different colors. And I just want to know, how have you been able, I guess you as well as your brokerage, because I'm guessing some of them are like for you all as a whole, and then some of them are just for you as an individual. How have you all been able to achieve such great success in this field? What are three things that you say are the keys to being as successful as you've been?
Well, I think the first thing is hard work. It's not taking days off. It's showing up when you're needed. It's giving up some of those like when we started talking about college, making the decisions between do I sit here and get the work done today, or do I go off and goof around and play and have fun? Well, we work hard, because that's what it takes to be successful. It doesn't happen all by itself, right?
That reminds me
show up and show out.
Yeah, there you go. That reminds me of this trend and these videos that I've seen on YouTube and TikTok called quiet quitting. Where people just do what's expected of them. They don't do any more, any less. What would you say as a business owner, as somebody who's been in engineering, somebody who's bought and sold businesses? You have a wide breadth of things that you have done. What would you say your take on that is?
I would just say, if that suits you, go for it. But if you want awards and you want, to, improve yourself, it takes time and effort. So, I look at business owners, they've built their business to a certain, level, and they've backed off, and they're enjoying life and, the fruits of all that labor when they were younger, and they haven't grown in the last, decade or so. And, they've used their business as kind of to, fund a lifestyle that they've lived, over that decade. That's fine. If they're happy with it, great. If you're not happy with it, you just got to put in the extra work to get there.
Yeah. Sometimes that extra work is outside of that 9 to 5, so anybody who owns a business, they will know that firsthand. Any successful business, I would say. Okay. We've gotten to the last part of the show where I ask the 3 whats to everyone I have on. So you can go however long or however short you want on these. So first, what's an opinion that you have that would be considered unpopular?
An opinion I have that would be unpopular. One thing that I would like to see happen is massive tax reform.
Ooh, okay.
I think that our tax system punishes achievement. We tax people based on what they earn, and it discourages earning and growth, right? So the harder I work, the more I pay to the government. I'd like to see something where, taxes are more based on wealth than achievement. So the folks that have the most pay the most. So someone, for example, young and is working hard to get to that point of wealth isn't taxed the same as someone who's not working hard and is just earning money off his wealth.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Massive tax reform.
That may or may not. That may be unpopular with certain people and very popular with others.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay. What number 2? If you weren't in the brokerage arena, buying and selling businesses, what would you be doing?
It's a great question. My wife will tell you that I would be playing baseball every day in adult leagues and tournaments. I don't know if my body can handle it anymore. But I would probably be doing some form of business ownership, whether, some form of small business, related to helping businesses, because having been a business owner, small business owner, having worked in the corporate world, I just have so much greater appreciation for the young entrepreneurs. So anything I could do to help them,
so you'd still be in business, just more on the consulting end.
Something. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Just, anything that, where I can help out small businesses and entrepreneurs.
Okay. Last what? Speaking of entrepreneurs and young business owners, what advice would you give to someone in high school? 14 to 18, getting ready to graduate, maybe just got in high school from middle school. What would you say to those kids?
Well, I think, the important thing that I think that they can learn from other entrepreneurs is to try something, right? Get involved in something, whether it's like a junior achievement, or doing something, as silly as, planting small trees in cups, growing them up to 6 inches and selling them to your neighbors. Anything that you can do to try to learn some business skills, at a young age, I think is phenomenal. When I was younger, my dad had a truck, and when I got to high school, before, when I was young, we had a lawnmower too, so I'd mow, some neighbors' lawns. But we had a truck sitting in the yard, and I was at the age where I wanted to date, girls, and he said, if you want to go out on dates, you're gonna have to figure out a way to pay for it. And I'm like, can I borrow your truck? So, that got me into doing things like hauling stuff or doing whatever I could, from neighborhood, people that I could find, saying, hey, I see you got that big brush pile out back. Do you need that hauled away? Oh, yeah. How much would you pay me for it? So, again, starting a little business, trying something, to earn money, teaches you a lot of skills.
So you've always had this entrepreneur mindset, even as a younger kid.
I wouldn't go that far. It fluctuated with the confidence level, right? So, I would say my entrepreneurial spirit was born out of necessity more so than, the creativity and desire. It was born out of necessity. So, you start learning those skills, and it's like, wow, I did that. You start gaining confidence. So the more you do it, the more confidence you gain. I think, the the better business person you'll be in the long term.
All right, Eric, please now tell people where they can find you, how can they connect with you, and plug it all.
All right, great. Yeah, Eric Gall, Edison Business Advisors. Our website is www, of course, Edison, Edison, B as in Bravo, A as in Alpha.com. My email is Eric, ERIC, at EdisonBA.com. And you can always reach me on my handy dandy cell phone, which you'll like the back of it.
Yeah.
All right. My handy dandy cell phone. I can never get rid of that thing. 239-738-6227.
Thank you, Eric, for coming on and sharing all the Go Blue spirit you got with you. And then just educating us about something that I've never had anybody on that does this kind of thing. So it's always great to have somebody who's doing something different that can expose everybody to something different, something that may pique their interest. And you never know, we may have the next person that you hire, maybe somebody that listened to this show and was like, man, I want to do what he's doing. So thank you for all of your insights here today. Make sure y'all go follow Eric and go check him out if you want to get into buying and selling businesses and brokerages and a whole lot of letters next to your name. Make sure you all go follow me at the Living Numbers Podcast on TikTok, on IG. Make sure you rate, review 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. And the link tree in the description has all the stuff that I do. So I'm a tutor and a whole bunch of other great stuff. You can buy merch. So I'm trying to diversify my business as well. Right, Eric? Oh, man. This was great.
That's right.
Thank you all. And I will see you in the next ramble. Boom.